Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Bobby. Somehow we created a cozy garden nook without even really trying. And the best part of the cozy garden nook is that we only paid $1 each for all of the plants that we planted in the planters in the cozy garden nook. I'm going to turn the camera around and you can see what I'm talking about. We will get a close-up shot of all the plants in just a moment. But you can see what I'm talking about with these two raised beds. They really formed this little garden nook that I didn't plan on at all. I'll walk around this way and you can see from this angle. Last year we had created this little sitting area back here with the two Adirondack chairs and these two round raised beds and the little bird bath, the metal benches there that I got from Plow and Hearth years ago. And then there's a couple of perennials in the back that I just planted there this year. Some of them need to be cut back. When I bought these two raised beds on Amazon, my intention was not to put them here at all. You can see the main garden there, what I call the main garden. It's all enclosed. So my intention was to put the two raised beds on the other side of the main garden. There's a strip of grass. We can walk over there and look at that. You know, this is a working cattle farm, so I do have to be mindful of the cattle and the situation with them. But this is a strip of grass that they just run through to go from one field to the next. My intention was to put the two raised beds in this area here, leaving room enough to mow between the fence and the raised beds, but close enough that I could water easily. And I was probably going to add two more. So I was going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was just going to use those for extra cut flowers like extra sunflowers, purple majesty millet, limelight millet, things that I use for drying. And of course the pro cuts are one and done, so I would just use those for cut flowers, and then we could reroute the cattle from when they go between fields. We could reroute them on the outside of this area. So that was my thought. And my husband, Sweet William, said, well, you know, in order to make them level, we're going to have to do, because you can see there's a slope. He said, in order to make them level, we're going to have to do quite a bit of digging out. I do have my water line coming from the well right through here, so we would have to be mindful of that. And he said we would have to do quite a bit of digging out to make them level. He said, are you sure you want to put them there? He was willing to do the work, but I thought about it and I said, oh boy, maybe you're right. So he said, let's try them over here. And my first response was, oh no, I don't want to put them there. I don't want to add any more to this little sitting area that we had created. Plus the two raised beds that I have in there are black. They have a black finish on them. So I would have gotten black instead of this brown wood grain, which I do like. But when we put them here, all of a sudden I said, oh, I love it. I love it. We have created a nook. Even the two different colors of the finish on the raised beds didn't bother me at all. So I'm just so pleased with how this turned out. I'm standing over here in the shade for a minute, but the specs on these beds themselves, they are 4 feet long by 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall. They do have braces in the center, the top and the bottom, which for these particular beds definitely need the braces. I got them on Amazon, and you're seeing a screenshot now of the actual name and which beds they are. I can't give you a specific link, but I can show you the name of them. My 11-year-old grandson and my 7-year-old grandson put them together for me. Took them about 2 hours. They did it all by themselves. I just gave them basic instructions, and they did a fantastic job of putting them together. My 7-year-old grandson brilliantly said, you know, Mimi, you don't have to fill these the whole way with dirt, he called it, because you can bend over. You don't need that much dirt to plant in. And I said, that's brilliant. But I have some old dirt that I'm going to be using. to fill in the bottom. So he seemed to be fine with that I wouldn't be overspending and wasting too much money with too much quote-unquote dirt. In order to fill these 2 raised beds, I had some old soil that I had in some old raised beds that I gave away to someone. So I saved the soil just for this type of thing. So I filled them a little more than halfway with the old soil. It was just a topsoil compost mix that I had gotten in bulk. Because I didn't have any new bulk soil left in my soil pile, I just bought bagged topsoil and I mixed that together with leaf compost and composted cow manure. And so there's about 8 inches of new topsoil compost mix in the top of these beds. Of course, you can use other things in beds like these. If you have a bed of this height, you can use composted leaves, forest matter. You can use branches and twigs that you've cut up, small pieces of wood to give yourself some volume so you won't have to use quite so much soil. But since I had some old soil, I thought it was a perfect base for these beds. Let's go through each of the plants and talk about their names. About a week after the 4th of July holiday, my local greenhouse put all of their 4-inch plants, their annuals, on sale for $1 each. So of course I hightailed it there to pick out what I wanted. They looked pretty good, actually. They weren't too worse for the wear. A couple of them were, but for the most part, everything looked pretty good. The butterflies are enjoying the lantana. I'm back over here in the shade for a moment. Now these beds have been planted up for just about a month. I did film the original planting, me planting them all. I talked about the beds, I talked about the plants. Today is Monday, August 10th, so I had this video scheduled to air on Friday at 5 p.m. I've been trying to air my videos on either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or a Monday and a Friday, or a Wednesday and a Friday around 5 p.m. That seems to be the best time for my viewers, or you, my viewers. So I had it scheduled. I edited, of course. I rewatched it many times, and then I watched it just before it was getting ready to air, and I said, oh, this is just terrible. It was just something about the video that really bugged me. So at the end, I'm going to put in some of the footage of me actually planting the plants. But after I put in my soil, I mixed some perlite in there. I've been using perlite because I mix a lot of my own soil. I've been using perlite, and perlite just helps retain moisture. It helps bring air into the soil. So it's a good additive. You don't have to use it, but I've been using it. And then because these plants had been in their plant cans for quite a long time, since the spring when they were grown by the grower, I did add in some slow release fertilizer. Now I have not fertilized them since, and it's been almost a month that they've been in here. So as we go through the plants, you can see how well they're doing. I think I spent a total of about $45, not just these 2 planters, but I have several other planters that I planted the $1 each plants in. So I was really, really happy and pleased to be able to get this many plants that looked that good, that will really carry me right into the autumn season. The little sunflowers you see here are ones that I grew from seed. I started these in the greenhouse. These are called Sunray Yellow, and they are a miniature sunflower. They only get about 20 inches tall, so I'm hoping they won't get too much taller than they are, but they get multiple blooms. They're branching. You can see all the little buds there. So I decided to go ahead and put them in here as well. I hope I didn't make a mistake in doing that. All of these plants are sun-loving plants. Hello. This Coleus is called Chipotle, sun lover, of course. This is big leaf rose bronze begonia here. The grass in the center is fireworks pennisetum. It's kind of like a purple fountain grass. This Portulaca here is called Mojave Orange. It's from Proven Winners, and it was one of the $1 plants. And then I have the lantana in here. I think I only have one type of lantana. It's called Deep Red, but you can see that I might have the wrong tag there. It's kind of getting covered up. Lantana goes in and out of bloom for me, but the butterflies love it. I repeated most of the same plants over here. I've got the Mojave orange, and that's the Portulaca. I've got the Chipotle Coleus. Look at the butterfly on this lantana. The big leaf red bronze begonia there, and then some more of the sunflowers with another of the fireworks grass. I have another Portulaca in here. This is called Portulaca Red, I think. Pizzazz Red, maybe? I think it's Pizzazz Red. And then there's some more Pizzazz Orange here. So I have the 3 different types of Portulaca. But I'm so pleased. Of course, at this time of year, late summer, you see most of the butterflies in action. You see them in early spring, kind of mid-spring, and then you see them again in late summer, really ramping up their action. I switched out this planter with some plants that had played out on me, and these are all, again, $1 each plants. I think there's 3 Coleus in there. I'm not sure which Coleus that is. I'm not sure I saved the tag. But then the mini vinca, which they call Kawaii Paprika Red, but it's basically mini vinca, and then the Dichondra Silver Falls there. I just trimmed that back. But can you beat that? Now I can go into the fall season just feeling like, hey, I have some beautiful fall colored plants and I didn't spend a ton of money. In this other planter, I have eucalyptus, and this is not one of the $1 plants, but I had to show you real quickly. I think I've talked about this in another video. The shorter ones are parvula gum, and the taller one is another type of a gum eucalyptus, but I'm not sure exactly which type it is. But I'm getting ready to harvest some of this for drying, and parvula gum is probably my favorite eucalyptus for drying and for using in arrangements and fresh arrangements. So we'll take one more look here, looking into the cozy garden nook we created. Don't you just love when something happens like this and you didn't plan it at all, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yes, I love it. This is exactly what I would have done had I planned it. So I'm really pleased. I said to Sweet William last night, he was picking some tomatoes. He's in charge of all the tomato harvest. So I said to him, look over at the 2 planters. Don't they look great? He's like, yeah, they look great. Didn't give me a whole lot of adjectives about it, but he said, yeah, they look great. I don't know if you can tell how badly I'm sweating, but it's only about 82 degrees Fahrenheit, but the humidity is through the roof. It's supposed to go up into the mid-90s today. Anyway, summer is still hanging on. I hope you enjoyed seeing this very unplanned cozy garden nook that just happened, and I sure am pleased with it. It's time for me to start harvesting beans and harvest the rest of my carrots. I'm going to plant some cabbage, so I better get to work. And if you'd like to stay tuned for the rest of this video and you can watch me actually planting those $1 each plants, then I'll put that on here now. Thanks so much for being here today, friends. We'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.